Care from With Care. Today I'm going to be talking to you about car seat safety, specifically booster seat safety. As a certified car seat technician and a CPR and safety instructor, I get a lot of questions from parents in my classes and workshops and in the community about booster seats. You know, a lot of questions about when they're appropriate, when your little one is ready to be out of one, what the purpose of them is. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over all of those questions and hopefully making you feel a little bit more confident and able to pick out the appropriate booster for your little one. In today's video, I'm featuring the Nuna Ace. It is a high back booster that converts into a no back booster and is very adaptable to fit children of different sizes. So it is a nice long-term solution for booster seat use. But there are many other great booster seats on the market that are safe and effective. So it's really important that you go out and research, what's right for your child, for your vehicle, and for your budget. The purpose is to boost your child up, raise them up to a position where the adult seatbelt can fit their body appropriately. That means that the shoulder strap is coming, touching their shoulder, across their collarbone, and touching their chest. Done up in the appropriate location, and the lap belt sits flat along the top of their thighs, not along their stomach. That's important so that in the event of a collision, the impact is spread over the strongest parts of the body of the child and doesn't harm them in any way. There is a minimum weight requirement for our booster seats. Typically here in Canada, that's around 40 pounds, but we would prefer that a child stays in a 5-point harness well beyond this. Most of our manufacturers allow 5-point harness use in a forward-facing position up until close to 65 pounds. And so if we can keep our child in that, if they're still well within the height requirements and the fit is still correct, then we prefer to keep them in that. But when they are developmentally ready and meet the minimums for a booster seat, then it's safe to move them over. And when I say developmentally ready, what I mean is my child ready to sit upright in a seat, being responsible for their seatbelt, keeping their body upright, and not slumping down when they're sleeping. That's really important that they keep that body structure, and again, that they're able to adjust that seatbelt if it moves in any way, and that they're going to stay static in their seat throughout the whole drive. One of the most common questions I get about booster seats is high back versus no back. Now, there is no definitive research that one is safer than the other if it's used properly. The issue is that in some cases, a high back booster will be more appropriate for a child or a vehicle, and in some cases, a no back will be. And so again, we don't want to make a blanket statement. We want to do research and make sure that we choose what's appropriate for our vehicle and for our child. The nice thing about a high back booster is that it gives some structure and stability through the core and up through the neck and shoulder. Now the nice thing about that is that if our little one does start to fall asleep, it might give their body a little bit more of an upright position, so holding them a little bit more upright than if they were in a no-back version. That's why typically we do ask for parents to transition into a high back booster first with their child. It kind of gets them ready for that next step of going to a no-back booster. The other great thing about a high back booster is that it has a belt positioning clip, which means it's got a little hole here which we thread the seat belt through, and that will hold the seat belt in the correct position on their shoulder. With some of our seats like this one, we can actually adjust that really incredibly for different sized children, getting a perfectly tailored fit for our little one. So again, that belt positioner is really nice. Some no-back boosters do have a belt positioning clip. It comes on a strap from the base up to the top and we attach it. But in some cases it doesn't work quite as well as this. So again, we would want to test out what works for our child and our vehicle. Do keep in mind that some vehicles have the car seat belt positioned in a way that really do require a high back booster or at least a belt positioning clip. An example of that is our Dodge Caravan. The third row of seating, the car seat belt comes from in front of the seat. That means that for an adult with a thicker torso, we can reach that seat belt placement. But for a child, it will sit out from their body. And that's why it's so important to have that belt positioner pull it back against their body into the correct placement. So please keep that in mind when you're choosing one. It's always important to look at your car manual as well as the car seat manual or the booster manual in order to ensure that they're compatible together. Another thing to consider is that with our high back boosters, they do provide head support, which means that we don't always need a headrest behind it. That's important because some cars do not have headrests in all positions in the rear of the car. And so if that's the case, we want to ensure that we're purchasing a high back booster that allows for no head restraint behind it. Some do require a head restraint to come all the way behind the booster and some do not. But it's very important that our child, whether they're in a high back booster or they're in a no back booster, have some form of head support coming up to the top of their ears. The nice thing about some of the high back boosters on the market right now is that they can actually convert into no back boosters. So simply by clicking off this back portion, we can store that away, and we can now use this as a no back booster as our child gets larger and maybe is more developmentally ready for a no back booster. It's very important that when we are using a no back booster that we ensure that the car provides that support up until the top of the ears and that the belt is again sitting properly across the chest and across the lap. If those two things can't be met with a low back booster, then we need to look into a different booster option. The nice thing about a no back booster is that it's more lightweight to take places, easier to swap in and out of people's cars, and it seems a little bit less babyish for our older kids. So again, that can be a really nice benefit as our child gets a little bit older and is ready to take the next step before moving on to sitting directly into the car seat. So when can your little one ditch the booster seat? Well, that's a tough one. It's not the same timing for every child. Really, what we want to see is that they pass the 5-step test. What that means is, can our child sit with their bum all the way to the back of the seat? 1. Allowing their legs to dangle freely at the knees in a 90-degree angle from the edge of the car seat? 2. Does the shoulder and lap belt fit them correctly? So the shoulder belt going across their collarbone, 3, and the lap belt sitting across the top of the thighs, 4. And finally, are they able to stay that way for the duration of the trip? If our kids can't meet those 5 requirements, then they're not ready to be without a booster. Typically, that's going to be when they are over 4 foot 9 inches tall. But again, we want to make sure that they're developmentally ready to move on to the next step so that we can keep them as safe as possible when they're in our vehicle. So one final thing to consider with our booster seats is that whether we have a no back booster or a high back booster, when our child is not strapped into the seat, it can become a projectile in a collision. So it's very important that we do up the seat belt every time, making sure that this is really held into our car so that if we were in a collision, it would stay safely where it's meant to. There are some of our booster seats on the market now that come with a universal latch system. That means that we can attach the booster directly into the car, which means that it would not become a projectile, meaning that you don't need to strap it in every time. So if you prefer that, you can always look for one. As long as that's compatible with your car and works, then that's a great option. But either way, we need to make sure that this seat is not going to fly out and hurt anyone in the event of a collision. So I hope you found this video on booster seats helpful. Please scroll down below to check out some of the links from today's video, as well as to subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date of all of my videos. And please comment below and let me know what topics you would like covered. I would love to be able to help you and your family feel more informed. Take care, have a great day. Bye.